145. Welcome to Cost Atlas. The hidden cost of everything. Today, who actually pays for the World Cup final? A country will spend years competing for the right to host this one match. And the strange part is this: the city that wins ends up paying for a building it may never fill again, while the money the match makes quietly leaves the country. So, what does it really cost to stage the World Cup final? Not the answer you think. Sestieters 50 21, Xio STLS to THE Hidians Coast, Ofer EVAT 121, 105. The final is the most watched single sporting event on the planet. Well over 1 billion people. One match. 90 minutes. But that match doesn't happen in an ordinary ground. The final is played in a showpiece, usually purpose-built, 80 or 90,000 seats, designed to be seen by the entire world for one night. And that's where the real bill begins. Because the cost of the final isn't what it costs to run the match. It's what it costs to build the stage and then live with it. Ace 105, 6 and 50. Start with the obvious. To host a final, you first have to build the room. A modern World Cup final stadium is not a stadium in the everyday sense. It's a piece of national architecture. A roof, sometimes cooling systems, custom transport links. 88,000 seats. The venue that hosted the most recent final was reported to cost in the region of $800 million. $800 million for one building. Hold that number. It is, by far, the largest thing on this bill. Tau 400 lands later, first natural pause noted at Nutufi 100. Then there's security. Locking down a World Cup final is a national operation. Perimeters, crowd control, transport, emergency services, airspace. Almost all of it paid for by the host. Attributed to the final and its host, city cluster, somewhere around $60 million. Now the part the world actually sees the broadcast. The final is the most heavily produced single broadcast in sport. 30-plus cameras, including cinematic rigs that follow a single bead of sweat. Outside, broadcast trucks the size of houses. The world feed for that one match runs around $40 million. Add the show itself. The ceremony, the pre-match spectacle. The half-time performance staged for 1 billion screens. Plus the matchday machine underneath it, 3,000 stewards, hospitality, the pitch, the officiating technology. Together, about $40 million on the day. Alle 400ers, and finally, the overhead. A final isn't a standalone event. It's the summit of an entire tournament. 64 matches, thousands of staff. An organization that runs for years. The final's share of that pure organizational cost, another $60 million. So line it up. Security, $60 million. Broadcast, 40. Staging, 40. Overhead, 60. The matchday event, the thing you think of as the final, costs around $140 million. But that's not the real number. Because sitting underneath all of it is the building. And once you put the stadium back on the bill, the cost of staging one World Cup final lands somewhere close to $1 billion. And roughly 8 out of every 10 of those dollars is the stadium alone. One building, 90 minutes that the planet watches. And then, for many host cities, a venue far too big for anything that comes after it. I-66650, $740. So, let's answer the real question. What does it cost to stage the World Cup final? Around $1 billion. Not for a season. Not for a city. For one match, most of it spent on a single stadium built to be seen, once, by the world. That works out to roughly $9 million for every minute of the final, It was built to hold. And here's the part that turns the whole thing over. $1 billion is about 2,500 family homes, a whole town, built and spent to stage one game of football. And the asset doesn't always earn it back. After the 2014 World Cup, a stadium built deep in the Amazon, for a city with no top flight club sat near empty. It cost around $300 million for 4 World Cup matches. About $75 million a match for a building with almost nothing to fill it afterward. The word for it became famous, a white elephant. Now, follow the money the other way. The host pays for the stadium, the security, the streets, and keeps the building. But the revenue the World Cup generates, the broadcast rights, the sponsorships, the ticketing, flows to FIFA. Across the most recent 4-year cycle, that revenue was reported at around $7.5 billion. And here's the mechanism. To win the right to host, countries routinely grant FIFA broad tax exemptions, so most of that money leaves the host largely untaxed. It's not a scandal. It's the deal written into the bid. So watch what really happens on final night. The host has built the billion-dollar stage. The whole planet tunes in for 90 minutes. And in those 90 minutes, the value the host created, the stadium, the spectacle, the global attention, too is captured by someone else and carried out the door. The host is left with the asset it can't use. And the bill. FIFA leaves with the cash. The World Cup final isn't just a match. It's the moment that transfer completes. A first 9,995. That's the thing about the biggest match on earth. The price isn't the 90 minutes. The price is the building that outlives the party, and the money that was never going to stay. That's what we do here. We find the bill that isn't on the scoreboard, for the things you thought you already understood. Next time, an entire Formula One season, and why the most expensive thing in the sport is the part that never touches the track. This was Cost Atlas. The hidden cost of everything. See you in the next one. Spoken Body 1 500 words. Target 812 min. The 70% of the body is the cost breakdown flip. All figures flagged in research. Med must clear fact check. The stadium figure is the load-bearing one.